Oi punters, the numbers are in and we are giving away 56% of our Aussie gas for free to foreign-owned multinational corporations, and politicians are starting to take notice. Let's take a look. All right, so you may have seen politicians dropping this talking point recently in the last couple of weeks. Here's Jackie Lambie.
Do you know the government gets more from young Australians out there paying back their HECS than what they do from the oil and gas companies that operate here in this country?
True.
That in itself is shameful.
Yes.
That you're prepared to rip our kids off instead of taking from multinationals.
We are ripping the kids off and taking from multinationals. Well said, Jackie Lambie. But this week, politicians have a new talking point come from the Australia Institute. Here is Monique Ryan, independent senator who took Josh Frydenberg's seat.
Multinationals to take our oil and gas and sell it off overseas at massive profits and not pay tax. And if we had those taxes, we could afford all of the things that the younger generation of a wealthy country should expect and which they deserve.
We actually could. Well said, politician Monique Ryan. Now, the real heavy hitter was politician David Pocock here. Here's what he had to say about the whole thing.
They are absolute leeches on this country. What we're seeing with our gas is state-sanctioned daylight robbery. We're seeing
State-sanctioned. That's a really good phrase. State-sanctioned, meaning both sides of government have allowed this. They designed it this way and they are allowing this to happen. So well said, politician Pocock. State-sanctioned is what it is.
a betrayal of Australians and our future by the major parties. We're seeing state capture by the gas industry that is not paying royalties, not paying petroleum resource rent tax for offshore LNG exports, and then many of these multinationals are managing to minimise their corporate tax. They are absolute leeches on this country, and this has to end.
Absolute leeches on this country, and this has to end. I like to go with absolute bludgers. They are bludging off you, the taxpayer. So what's the story here? What's the report that was dropped? Well, the Australia Institute, independent think tank, who's been hammering this thing lately, released a report, and the numbers are as follows. Australia is missing out on $13 billion in royalties revenue from gas projects. So any gas that is mined onshore is subject to whatever royalty scheme each state has. It's the purview of the state. But the federal government is in charge of anything that is mined offshore. And it just so turns out that a hell of a lot of gas is getting mined offshore, and the federal government has either been asleep at the wheel or deliberately designed it this way to pretty much allow big gas companies to take the gas for free, paying no royalties at all. So the number is $13 billion in royalty revenue should have been charged on gas exports in the past 4 years. So to put that number into perspective, here's a Guardian article that lists the costs of certain things. Free university education for all Aussies to undertake would cost about $7 billion a year. And here we are giving away $4 billion a year by giving away our resources to these oil companies. $4 billion a year, just have it for free. So the analogy is if you're a baker and you're baking bread, it's as if you went to the flour shop and the bloke gave you all the flour for free, and then you went to make your bread, right? And then you sell your bread for heaps of money. How good would it be if you got your input costs, like the baker, for free? How good would it be if they gave your flour for free? That's what's happening with our gas sector. We are giving them half their gas that they export for free. Then these foreign-owned companies make absolute billions off the back of that. So in the last 4 years, Australians have given away the gas that made $149 billion worth of LNG for free. So these companies made $149 billion in 4 years, and we gave it to them for free. It's worse if you're from Western Australia. $111 billion worth of this royalty-free LNG was produced in Western Australia. So no royalties were paid on 56% of the gas that was exported from Australia and 73% of gas exported from WA. Once again, Western Australia, you're getting so scammed. Who is doing this? I hate to say it, punters, but it gets even worse. So $13 billion is the number of royalties that we were missing out on based on our current really rubbish royalty scheme, which sucks, by the way. We missed out on $13 billion, but if we were doing what Qatar was doing, that $13 billion would be 6 times greater, so around $76 billion. I just made a little graph of those numbers here. Here is Australia and what we're getting. I put a value on it because I wanted to see the line, but that's at zero. That's what we're giving away for free. This is what we could have had, but we don't get because we give it to them for free. This is what we ought to have if we had a proper functioning royalty scheme. So what do these leech companies have to say for themselves? Well, the ABC article goes and seeks comment from some industry leaders here. So the Australian Energy Producers Chief, that's the event I tried to attend where they wouldn't let me in. Fair enough, you bloody bludgers. And obviously what they had to say was, this is misleading. For free is a bit misleading. The fact that Australian oil and gas has invested more than $400 billion over the past decade or so. What they're doing now is, we invested $400 billion, blah, blah, blah. What the bloody hell good is an investment where I get none of the return? Good on you for investing $400 billion in your own business where you take the profits offshore. What the bloody hell do I get from that? So they're dropping around a number. I don't care how much you invested. What do I get? What do we, the punters, get for our resources? So that's a silly line just from the beginning, but people will buy it. They go, $400 billion, invested, that's pretty good, blah, blah, blah. Nah, that's what they put in. They get out heaps of profits in return. And as we're learning, we get bugger all. So the line that they actually didn't say here, and the line that they run all the time, these gas companies, Australian Energy Producers, which is just an oil and gas cartel. They've changed their name to Energy Producers, but it's just oil and gas. What they generally say is, you can't tax us. If you up royalties, we'll leave. We'll take our $400 billion investment and we'll go somewhere else. To that I say, bloody leave. Where are you going to find another nice, stable democracy with a nice legal system to protect all your properties where you can just drill and make billions? There's not too many out there. And people often buy this. But let's look at another country and see what happens if you actually tax your resources and if the government actually manages the resources well on behalf of we the punters and not for the profits of these shareholders. So Norway has a lot of oil, and here's a speech from the previous president of Norway speaking about how they manage their resources and how they tax their resources. This was a long time ago. This was in 2013. Let's take a watch.
And then to answer, what we have done in Norway is to say that the natural resources in the ground, that's something we own in common. It's not private ownership.
No way. This is the key point. We punters have to remember what is in the ground is our resources, everybody's resources. If you're born into this country, this is all of ours. He puts that at the forefront, which our Aussie politicians do not.
So the oil and gas in the continental shelf is the ownership of the Norwegian state by law. But then we invite foreign companies to invest, to produce, and then of course they can sell the oil and gas. But partly, we tax them quite heavily. It's 78% tax rate.
78% tax rate. That is what they're charging on their oil and gas. 78% tax rate. Did they just leave and did they get no foreign investment? And now Norway just has all this oil stuck in the ground that no one's going to pay to dig out? Let's take a look.
And they told us that was impossible. But they come and invest. and we tax them and they stay.
So that's the Norway example. They come, they invest, we tax them, and they stay. Because here's what the Australian Energy Producers and Chevron and Santos, here's what they don't want you to know. We have them over a barrel. That is our resources. Without our resource that we own, they own nothing. And so how did Norwegian punters go? What did they get with this man in charge? Well, last year, I think the number was 140 something billion dollars they got from their own oil reserves. And they take that, they put it in a sovereign wealth fund, and they invest it, and Norwegian citizens are the beneficiary of that. Now all the way back to Australia. We're not even getting 13 billion. So 13 billion is a joke. Back to my little graph here. This is 13 billion on what Qatar had. This is some kind of joke. And we didn't even get that. So the war is heating up. Politicians are paying attention. If we can keep the pressure on and keep letting everyday Aussie punters understand and know that what's in the ground belongs to us and we're getting shafted, we can stop hearing this narrative from politicians saying, we can't afford to do that. We can't afford to help you with the cost of living. We can't afford to invest in the economy. We can't afford to do those sorts of things. Because guess what? We bloody can. And it's time the politicians worked for us and not the corporations, because what it's called state capture. How does a government allow this daylight robbery to occur? It's because these corporations own our politicians. Just there's the evidence of it. You'd have to be a complete idiot to allow this to happen, or you've designed it that way because you benefit from it. And obviously I've done a video on this stuff before, but this is sort of the updated numbers that have just come out. So cheers, punts. Thanks for watching. Fact checks welcome. Citations necessary in the comments. Massive thanks to We the Punters over on Patreon who support me and keep me doing what I'm doing. So thank you. And massive thanks to the punters who share my videos so that everyday Aussie punters can understand this sort of stuff, so we can start holding politicians to account so they work for us and not large corporations. So cheers, punts.
Australia, we are no longer a nation. We have become a corporation. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Wake up, Australia, wake up. Stand up. Rise up, Australians, rise up. Did you know that the land that our forefathers died for has been stealthily stolen by lies and corruption? Did you know that our nation is not a country but a corporation? The time has come to take a stand for the freedom of every woman, child, and man. Wake up, wake up, Australia, wake up. Stand up, rise up, Australians, rise up. Back in 73, Whitlam did the deed that sabotaged our nation. He went behind our backs, made a royal style act, defied our constitution. He went around without a sound and left us in confusion. This led the way to where we are today, on the edge of communism. Oh, wake up, Australia, wake up. Stand up, rise up, Australians, rise up. Gough and Fraser too, they fooled me and you, took away our rights and freedoms. Then came Bob Hawke with all his talk, made a hollow corporation. Through the Australia Act, only the politicians back, without our knowledge and ratification. The time has come when we must be as one in the Commonwealth of Nations. Wake up, Australia, wake up. Stand up, rise up, Australians, rise up. We've got to hold on to our sovereignty. We the people must be free, must be free. Yeah. Wake up, Australia, wake up. Stand up, rise up, Australia. rise up, Australians, rise up.
There's a map of Australia and Chinese ownership. It's crazy. We've sold huge farms, these massive, massive farms in the centre of Australia to China over the last 5 years or so.
What are the farms growing?
Cattle, whatever. Mainly it's kind of livestock. The sheer area is what's crazy.
The sale of a massive private cattle ranch to foreign buyers, saying it was contrary to the national interest.
At the moment, we as Australian people, we don't get any real benefit from that. The profits go overseas, or the produce goes overseas. We're not really seeing any benefit for it. And that's, if we didn't sell it, if we leased it, completely agree.
They're afraid of you noticing what's going on and speaking your mind and standing up, and you're sitting there thinking that you don't matter. Well, if you don't matter, then why are they spending trillions of dollars on trying to keep you quiet? Our voices matter. Our actions matter. How we live matters. And if we don't realize that we're falling into this trap,
we need to come together and do one thing: stop participating. And when we do that, the game is over. When we literally say Monday morning, we're not going to go to work. Imagine if 30 million people didn't go to work Monday. Imagine if 30 million people didn't buy gas on Monday. Imagine if 30 million people went to the bank on Monday and said, I want to withdraw all my money. They can't even give it to all 30 million because only 15% of the cash is available on hand at any given time. The rest is fake zeros and ones. That would collapse the banking system in one day. You see the power in that? You have the power. Well, we all have the power. But what's keeping us back from doing this? Fear. Oh my God, if I don't go to work, I'm going to get fired. And if they don't participate in it, and I'm the only one that doesn't show up for work, I'm going to lose out, and you're not going to be able to pay my rent. I'm not going to be able to make my car payment, and so forth and so on. You see the trap they have us in? They have us in this system where we're afraid to work together. We're afraid to be like, man, we're brothers. We should be, link up. Let's do this together. So that's where we got to get to, guys. We got to get to the point where we're literally all on the same accord, and that's going to happen. We've got to get to that point.
If we want to get our country back under our care and control here, our custody, and to remove the belligerent occupation, then all of it must go. All of it. Not this or that, but all of it. And what does that all of it mean? Well, it's parliaments, it's local councils, it's courts, it's law enforcement, it's taxation office, because all of it, according to the entire body of evidence that has been published by some of the best researching people, I think, in our family, broader family, that I've just aforementioned, they say it's belligerent, right? They say it's illegal. They say it's all fake. They say there's no common seal. They say all sorts of things, right? And they prove it.
G'day Aussies. Look, we know courage is as rare as rock and horse shit. But find something within yourself to get on and sign up for the national strike. www.nationalstrikeaustralia.org. Let's end this belligerent occupation and take our country back and give our children a future that we want, not what they want.